So we're starting the front struts on this 2013 Honda Fit. We have to remove this plastic trim here at the base of the windshield to get access at the struts at the tops. It's going to make it much easier rather than trying to fit through this little opening. So what I'm going to do here is show you. You need to get up in here. First of all, you got to take the wipers off. It's like a 13 or 14 millimeter nut, and you got to pull. There's a little pop clip here, and there's going to be another one on the passenger side. But besides that, there's like a piece of plastic here, and you just kind of get your fingers behind it and pry it up. You can use like a trim tool if you want. And then what else you have to do is you get under this all around. There's like tabs and clips, and you just pry up easily on it, and it should come right off. So don't be scared. So I gotta get this, sneak this out around the. Working with plastic, there's not really an easy way of doing it. So that comes off. There's like tabs. I'm gonna throw that in our parts bucket. So now that whole thing comes right up and off. And then you want to be careful because there's a windshield washer fluid hose on the passenger side. So I'm going to go over there and show you guys how to do it. So what I'm going to do right here is there's like a little union where the hoses go. And I'm just going to try to pull this off right here. Alright, so now that that is off, we're going to take this plastic piece up and out of the engine bay, and I'm going to stick this somewhere up on top of, right there, up and out of my way. I'm going to assess what we have here. We got a lot of debris down in there. There's no vermin, it's just all debris. So now that we got a little bit more space here, that'll make it easier to get access to our fastener down under here, sort of. There's like a little rubber grommet or cap that looks like that. So I pulled that off. And then I believe there's a Torx. Yeah, it's either, I think it's Torx. You're gonna need like a Torx socket to hold that, so that way you could break that free. Worst case scenario, the passenger side looks like there's nothing in the way. Worst case scenario, we got to pull this this windshield wiper assembly here, which would just be this clip, and it looks like you got like a 10 millimeter bolt back here, a 10, a 10, and a 10, and then this whole thing should come right out and out of the way. So I think what we're gonna do is cut the video, and I'm gonna clean this all out because I'm gonna prepare to pull this thing out. I guarantee I'm gonna probably need to have that out. So these are 10 millimeter. I'm gonna pull them out. Having trouble fitting my mitts in here to grab this bolt. So they're all the same size. And then Gonna need a handy dandy little tool for that. Entirety.
That's crazy.
Just using this pick tool to try to get this connector off, and there we go. Now this thing doesn't need to go far. I'm just going to leave it right there. Alright, we got to shut this place down. We're getting water on the ship. Alright, so I'm on the driver's side here. As you might hear, it's downpouring, and we're under our tarp here, our tent. And we got a little bit of rain cover on the backside here, but anyways, these shocks are a little different. There's nothing at the top like bolts or studs. It's only one in the direct middle. So let me show you real quick. So it has like something like this up top. The stud has an Allen. That happens to be, if I can get it here, that happens to be a 5mm is what I used. So I used a 5mm, and as far as the nut goes, I believe that was a 17mm. You put the wrench on there, and all you do is hold it with the Allen. If you try to turn the Allen, you're going to probably break it, because I've done that plenty of times, especially with these things, the end links. So you end up breaking it free with the 17. It's not that hard. You just have to remove that plastic out of your way for the driver's side. The passenger side, you probably wouldn't have to. And then down under here, this will drop down, so if you want, you can leave that for last, so that way you're not battling it down here. But anyways, the 2 bolts for the shock to the knuckle are 19. The bolt head and then the nut are both 19. And then you got right here for the brake hose, another small fastener. That's going to be a 12mm. And you got the ABS wire, or the wheel speed sensor right there. It's a rubber grommet in that, and then a plastic clip. So you do that, and the same thing goes for the end links here. That happens to be, I believe, the same size. As a matter of fact, I think this one's the 5mm on top of the strut is actually a little bit larger. It's probably like a 7 or 8. Since we're replacing these anyways, I'm just breaking it free down at the bottom. I ended up using vice grips on the backside. There's no hex for a wrench. So I put the vice grips on there, and as I was spinning it with my impact tool, I was putting pressure on it so that way it would come loose. And I also sprayed some Croil on there beforehand. If you're doing this all with hand tools, you could use like a pry bar with an assistant that can put pressure on that for you. I've seen other people use like C-clamps and stuff like that. But anyways, that's disconnected. I'm going to knock these bolts out with a hammer, and then this shock will be ready to be pulled out and a new one will be going in. So I'm just going to cut the video for now and get that done, and I'll be right back. So what I was going to mention too, that I almost forgot, when you pull the shock out, you're going to want to like hold this spindle up somehow. I'm resting my knee against it. You can put like a jack or a jack stand under it. It's not very heavy, it's just a little awkward. You just want to support it, because if this spindle falls out this way more, this CV axle is going to pop out and the boot's going to come off, and it's going to be kind of annoying to deal with. But it's repairable in case you do happen to accidentally do that. But the best thing is to try to avoid doing that. So we're going to get the new one in here. Just wanted to mention that. I have the 2 bolts back in, and what I did is I put some anti-seize on there. Up here in New England, it's going to get very rusty, and in case anybody ever has to come back in here and do anything, which could be me, because I have a feeling that I think they're going to need some inner tie rods with the clunking going on, or, you know, in case we need to do a CV axle in the future or anything like that, that I'm going to put anti-seize so that comes apart nice and easily. And the same goes for the end links. Some people will use blue Loctite and torque it. I'm just going to send it with the impact, and I have a rough idea of how tight it needs to be. Some people may not like that. It's not exactly rocket science. and I stand behind everything, so I know that it's good. But anyways, I'm gonna get that tightened up, get the end link on, and bolt this screw in, and that should be it for this side. And then we got to finish up the top. But besides that, this side will pretty much be done. We might be back in the near future because it looks like the brake pads over here are getting a bit low. But yep, that's for this side. We'll do the passenger side, button everything up, and then the next video we do after this strut replacement job is an oil change, which should be fairly easy. So the rain is very torrential here, and we had to take an intermission to grab another tarp for our tent setup here. So now if I pan up and over here, not looking too shabby. So now we're back in action. The rain is really coming down out there, if you can hear that. Anyways, this is one of the end links right here. Those nuts on there are 17 millimeter. I did not have to hold the stud with an Allen. I just ended up zapping that down with my impact, and we're good. So I didn't zap it too crazy, but I also put anti-seize just in case, so that stuff should come off again. These are like nylon nuts though, so those could be a little difficult. Anyways, this side is officially done, and we are going to put the wheel on and get over to the other side. So we're on the passenger side here. I already took the nut off the top of the shock tower here. We got the end link disconnected down at the bottom. This took a little more persuasion, so what I ended up doing was I had to heat it up with a little bit of a MAP gas torch, and I ended up spraying it with some penetrating oil, and I also put the vice grips on there so they wouldn't hold on to like the rounded part that looks like it's like rusty. So I had to go a little bit behind it, and then it gripped there. So that helped me get it off. And I use an impact doing this by hand. If you don't have any power tools, you might as well just cut it right off with even a hacksaw, or if you have like any sort of sawzall or a cutting wheel, obviously just caution safety, and you'll get it. Once these things are off, that's the biggest problem pretty much. And I got these bolts loosened up, so all I got to do is pull these out and pull the shock out, throw the new one in, and bolt it back up. And then we got to put all this stuff back together. This bolt here on this bracket here, the bolt was like not coming out with like a ratchet. So what I ended up doing was I bent this bracket with like some pliers, or I use vice grips, you could use whatever, but if you bend that at the right angle, you can come up right over the rotor with a impact and an extension, and that helped break it free, because the torque doing it by hand was just bending the bracket. So with the impact, it really broke that thing free without breaking the bolt. Either way, I was expecting either the bolt to come loose or to break, and if it broke there, it doesn't matter, because that's part of the old shock that's going to be thrown out. You would just have to source a new bolt if you want to make it look OEM, or you could just zip tie this right there. It's not really a big deal, but I would probably use 2 zip ties. All this is just kind of holding this so this hose isn't flopping around and chafing on all the metal and everything. So we're pretty much going to conclude the video right about here, because we're done installing the passenger side shock and strut assembly here with the end links. Everything has been snugged up and anti-seized, as well as this top bolt. So what I'm going to do is lower the car. I'm going to put the wheel back on, lower the car, and then with the weight on it, I'm going to make sure these are snug, and if they're not, I'm going to try to snug them up even more and torque them to spec. So that's the end of this video. If you're not already subscribed, please do. We're going to be rolling out a lot more videos, so make sure you do that.